Today I'd like to share with you a little story that helps illustrate the point about being very careful in terms of labelling a child. Now this story starts a few years ago. We had a little boy who was very challenging. He had many issues, both behavioural and social and cognitive. This meant the teachers were often having to correct or redirect or sort of get alongside him in some way. So after he had been with us for a while, his behaviour actually started escalating, and we're trying to work out why. Every day the children would be coming to the teachers saying, whatever about that child's hurt me, or that child's taken my toy. And we'd have these constant stories from the other children. And it seemed like that boy was on a rampage around the room, ripping books and breaking things. And the teachers felt like they spent a lot of the day having to deal with this child and redirect this child. So this continued until the teachers started to notice that they were getting complaints about this child from other children when they hadn't actually even seen him in their vicinity. So also around this time, two children approached the boy. Let's just call him Lincoln. They approached Lincoln, and Lincoln was playing with a toy, and both of these children wanted Lincoln's toy. So they said, "Please, can I have that car?" Lincoln decided to choose and give it to one boy. That meant the other boy missed out. And so that boy who missed out went straight away to the teacher and said, "Oh, teacher, Lincoln stole my car and he didn't give me my car and I want my car." And, he was basically telling on Lincoln. But in fact, Lincoln had been generous and had given a car to the other boy, but the missed out boy decided to try and manipulate or try to get his way by blaming Lincoln. So this really came to a head when a piece of equipment was broken. And the group of children, they were all asked, and the group of children were just definite and adamant that Lincoln had broken that toy. They were convinced that they had seen Lincoln break it. But the problem was that Lincoln was away that day. He wasn't even there. So he obviously didn't break the toy, yet all within those children's minds, he had done it. So the teachers realised that in their efforts to correct Lincoln's behaviour and redirect his actions into something more positive, they had actually labelled the child in terms of the rest of the class and how they saw him. They saw him as a troublemaker. Because his name was often heard in a negative way, then the other children perceived that all his behaviour was bad, not just some. So the children believed that any misbehaviour in the classroom came down to Lincoln. The teachers realised that they actually needed to change the perception of Lincoln within the minds of the children, and more importantly, in their own minds. So they did this in a few ways. Number one, they would point out whenever Lincoln was being good, and they would use a loud voice when praising Lincoln, and so the whole room reverberated with that praise. "Oh, Lincoln, you stood up when I said stand up. How amazing you are." Just wonderful praise, just for very little things, but making sure that all the other children could hear that Lincoln was doing something really good. And number two, they would point out his good points to the other children. "Oh, can't you reach up there? Oh, Lincoln is very nice and tall," and he was tall for a boy, tall. "Maybe he could reach it for you. Lincoln's so good at being tall. And Lincoln, you are very good at drawing circles. Could you come and show us how to do a circle on the ground with your chalk? Look, everybody, that's an amazing circle." So we're making sure that all the children could see his good points. And number three, they stopped asking children who had damaged a piece of equipment, as children will only tell you what they think you want to hear. And so, with the change in the teacher's attention and the praise, the children's perception of Lincoln also changed. Now, many of the children would go home to their parents and say, "Oh, Lincoln, he's my friend. He's very clever because ... Lincoln himself still had many behavioural challenges and social challenges. But what was noted as he got older and older, as he was turning 4 and 4.5, we could see that he was actually a very much an alternative thinker. And in the future, we reckon he would be if his energy could be harnessed, he could be the most amazing inventor or engineer. Let this story remind you as a teacher that you must be very, very careful with how your behavioural techniques affect the children and the other children. And as a teacher, how does it affect the perception of a child to their other friends? Remember, do not label a child. Thank you.